Smart 24, driving business.
Good evening, dear viewers. You are welcome back to our program on channel, our Smart TV 24. And you are again privileged to be with a guest as we go forth. That is Honorable Dennis Onekalit Ameri. Sir, you're welcome, our MP of Kitugum Municipality.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our topic of discussion tonight is how corruption and government effective resource allocation affects economic growth. Smart 24 is a television which does not aim at either only criticizing, but we come up with factual points, the concerns of the community that seems to have dragged our economy backward. We have a number of reports that could be brought for discussion. Under the Honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Dennis Onekalita Meli, we are privileged to be with him. He's a member of the Parliamentary Accountability Committee. But while we are looking at corruption is known in various dimensions, and again, we will be searching through different reports that are available to be either reflecting on us, global reports, the level of our accountability, whether it is missing a lot or whether maybe we need to improve. And when we talk about corruption, dear viewers, before we go on, we don't only mean public theft of funds. Corruption goes beyond that. We are looking at the corruption, any act that is for selfish aggrandizement, for selfish benefit, either whether it is based on tribal inclination, whether it is based on ethnic attachments, and the offer of jobs, how it's done. But again, public resources is central in this. And as we talk about the issue of economic growth, these are pertinent issues that determine the well-being of the community. Economic growth, the factors that determines productivity, the factors that leads to stabilization of GDP, and so forth. So tonight we'll have a discussion and we'll look at whether the government has fought corruption to the maximum. And again, we're also interested to remind our viewers, at the local government level, our districts, honorable, district local governments, and also at the parliamentary level, the national budget, we don't wait for May and June. We begin to make already, I believe they are according to the parliamentary calendar. There have been a number of evaluation meetings, budget committees, assessing to look at how the allocated resources were utilized vis-a-vis the kind of the targeted priorities, and also to understand whether we are doing best to improve our economic growth. You're welcome, Honorable.
Thank you.
You can greet the viewers. They are waiting to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother, Dr. Joseph. Smart TV management, and all the viewers. I want to appreciate in a very special way the management of Smart TV for giving us time to talk to the people of Uganda, to the citizens of this country, on pertinent issues that pertain growth and development. Thank you.
Yes, we are again blessed to be with our comrade, Namakajo Derek Frederick. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And having you as a legal practitioner, there will be a number of pertinent questions you need to answer to Ugandans and possibly explain whether the legal framework continue to be a serious challenge, especially the fight against corruption, or whether the government allocation of resources needs some checks and balances as per the requirement of the law. You're welcome. You can greet the viewers. We are waiting. They're waiting to hear from you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Tindiewa, for this wonderful opportunity, and Smart TV at large. We are blessed for this wonderful program. You know, we can't consider politics throughout minus considering the economy of the country, because the economy is the backbone of each and every venture or each and every project going on. True, in most countries, most of Africa, we have a challenge of corruption. This almost has become a chorus in every song, that each and every year we sing corruption, stop corruption, corruption-free zone. But we need to know that corruption moves hand in hand with bribery, if I'm to say. And this has this has affected a lot to the economy of this country, Uganda. Yes, we have seen various people have come up to support corruption in various speeches, various members of parliament, various cabinet ministers, among others, together the head of state. But I believe we are going to understand better by the help of Smart TV how really corruption has tried to affect the economy of Uganda. Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, thank you so much. I refer to some reports available, dear viewers, and the acceptability of the views of corruption and possibly analysis and evaluation of how the national resources are allocated for purpose of implementing projects and programs which are aiming at both economic development and economic growth. When I talk about that, dear viewers, in this introductory statement, economic growth and economic development, they differ, yet they intend to mean to meet a common objective at an individual and a family level, and again community level. How is production viewed and perceived, especially in relation to the contribution of the community member in terms of production to the increase of revenue collection. And again, it goes beyond that. We again go to either a household level, how the household level is contributing, feeding into the productivity of the nation. Production, which steers up export trade, which again is able to bridge a gap to meet the need in the market, what we refer as the balance in the market, before we go to the balance of trade. All that which leads to determine whether the country has economic growth. Apparently, where we are aware that the state of our economy is staggering. There were a number of causes, including, as it has been referred by some analysts, that COVID-19 contributed to what is being referred as inflation, the hiking of prices of commodities, and so forth. But again, there are speculations which I may not rely on reports, but yet they have some critical point to look into. The hiking of the prices of fuel at a certain point, as you remember, Honorable, there was a misunderstanding at the border and fuel couldn't be brought into the country in time. And we hope that maybe that was settled. But leaving that aside, we know every year it is the mandate of the government to come up with a national budget. The reason why they come up with the national budget is to relate with you, the viewer, the citizens, and to know where is the source of funds. That's why there is always a public statement by the head of state, and part of the source of funds including the taxes you pay. So our topic of discussion tonight is including you, businessman, is including you, our citizens. In your own way, we no longer have graduated tax. That don't say that it's only maybe Mokwana who pays the tax, much as he pays a higher tax. As you buy soap, there is also a certain tax you paid. Those who are buying fuel, there's a certain percentage. Airtime, you pay a certain percentage. So I am bringing this point to you to know that you are part of this discussion, to know whether the resources you contribute to the government through tax collection and so forth has made an impact to the community. A number of programs, they can be listed, I cannot finish all of them. Those which are aiming for economic growth, support the economic lives of the people, and also those who are going to, in terms of developing the economic development. I'm bringing this enlightenment to the viewers and ourselves to know whether the corruption and the allocation of these resources has effect, maybe positive or negative, to economic growth. Dear viewers, you're welcome. And again, the guests, we can go through our discussion. We can start with you briefly, with 5 minutes, and you give us your exposition of your points.
Yes, Doctor, thank you once again. You know, when we are talking about the economy of this country, it is very, very crucial and important that we analyze the causes and the factors that are making this country to face a decline in development, and also to analyze the causes of the inflation. 3, to understand why are we having hiking when it comes to prices of goods. That is 1. Then 2, also we need to understand why are we having a poor base of revenue collection, if so, if it is in existence, and if it is not there, where is our government? Where is our government going wrong? You know, when we are analyzing, and I like the topic of discussion today, which is mainly corruption vis-a-vis revenue collection and the economic growth and development of the country. Whenever we talk about economic growth, here we base ourselves on the business, how business is running in the country, how business is operating. But are we targeting the agenda? Are we yielding from the various revenues being collected? What is the agenda of the state in ensuring that we are collecting the revenue the revenue? How are we collecting the revenue? What are the laws put in place to ensure that we have good revenue collection and that the taxes being collected are put into proper use? Those are the things we need to put in consideration whenever we are analyzing about corruption vis-a-vis revenue collection, economic growth, or development. Dr. Tindew and the entire citizen of Uganda, we need to understand that the economy of Uganda, as of now, it is not staggering of the so-called factors being being raised by various personnel, according to my understanding. We can't every time say that it is because of the COVID pandemic that our economy is staggering. But many countries have faced the problem of COVID, the challenge of COVID, since it was a globally pandemic disease. But is every country staggering the way Uganda is staggering? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. Let's also not blame the issue of fuel, prices on fuel increasing day and night. That's the main reason as to why our economy is staggering. The main reason as to why our economy is staggering, we need to go beyond. We need to skip the wall and see how really is corruption affecting our economy. That is the main point in today's discussion, and that's how we need to understand. You know, corruption has tried to affect the economy, and it has brought a corrosive impact onto the economy, onto the economic growth and development of Uganda. Slowly by slowly, corruption has eaten away the values, the integrity, the core values of business, of the economy, of public service delivery. Corruption has slowly, corrosively eaten away such values. So if you're expecting to have better service delivery, such as you're going to a health facility, and now there are various, or for example in Mulago we have rules and procedures, or we have the way Mulago is admitting in patients. All of us, we know that we have that particular emergency room. We have the emergency ward. We have where patients have to first reach and submit and be registered into the registers of Mulago. But because you feel like it is the trend now that if you want to get better services and quick services first, you have to put in a coin so that you jump the queue.
Bribe.
Yeah, bribe, so that you skip a queue in order to get services quickly. What is that effect? One, it is undermining our laws put in place. The rule of law has been automatically violated by the mode of corruption. It is not only affecting the economic growth, but it is also affecting the preservation of rule of law in the country. We have the law clearly which says the health facilities are supposed to run in this way. The education sectors are all to operate this way. The Uganda Police Force has to serve this way. But right now it is automatically known and it is judicially noticeable that at police, for you to get better and quick services, you have to put in something. You to have your goods imported on a high speed without being charged the highly taxes, you have to first talk to a certain person inside. Indirectly or directly, that alone is affecting the rule of law. It shows that either we don't have the laws that are fighting corruption, either we don't have the laws that are stipulating on how such services are ought to be delivered to the public. Rather, we have just a clemature or a picture of laws just put in place that just for the purposes of laws being put in books. So the issue of corruption, it is not only affecting the economic growth, rather it is affecting the rule of law, one. Two, it is one of the factors by the way in most countries that has come up to determine a political determination of a government in most countries. We as citizens under the law, we have a right to self-determine our country. What do we want? By being given a right of franchise, a right to vote for the head of state and parliament at large. The more we see corruption taking course, we lose trust in the public service delivery. When you lose trust in public service delivery, automatically the goods that are going to be put on market, you're going to lose trust in them. It is leading to poor quality, lack of appreciation of goods on market. Because one, let me give you an example. We have these these Vaselines, the lotions that are used by mainly ladies and some men to bleach themselves, to lose our melanin within us. Those lotions were 10 years banned from being imported within the country. But each and every day, whenever you pass through the streets of Kampala, out of 10 you have to see 7 women bleaching, losing the melanin. How are those lotions penetrating into
Is there any law which has banned them?
No, that is under the UNBS. It is not on standard. So the more you see ladies are bleaching themselves, that means that there is something. If UNBS says that such lotions are not of standard, then how are they penetrating into the vicinity of Uganda, into the jurisdiction of Uganda? That automatically shows us that it is either we don't have rule of law in presence, or we lack enforcement of such rule of law. 3, the government is lacking goodwill, is lacking a will to implement such laws. And as such, it is forcing the citizenry. It is forcing the citizenry to lose trust within the government so that they can now change into another way of ensuring that they politically self-determine the future of their country. Because you cannot have trust in a government which you automatically know that for you to get better services, you have to first bribe. Automatically, basing on the value of the money we have as of now, which automatically has lost value, our money, our currency automatically has lost value. You own 1,000 shillings as if you're owning a 50 shilling. So you to get a 10,000 to give a police officer so that he or she records a statement of your particular client. Doing that Monday to Monday, January to January, year after year, indirectly, you're losing opportunities of you yourself developing yourself economically. As such, you turn into trying to ensure that you host the government so that you can self-determine your country by at least getting new leaders who can ensure that Uganda is corruption-free zone. So in the few minutes, what I can say is that corruption is not only even affect the economic growth or development, because we to have better economic growth, we to have better economic development, we need to have first working and efficient rule of law. Preservance of rule of law, because it is the law that is going to regulate on how a certain business sector is ought to operate. It is the law that is going to regulate on how service delivery is going to operate, on how service delivery has to come from the central government to the lower local government. It is the law. So if we don't respect the rule of law, that means that we are going to have corruption. Or the high increase of corruption in Uganda shows indirectly or even directly to a person who could analyze this that we don't have rule of law, or it is not being preserved.
Mr. Derek, here is a good question for you in 2 minutes you'll answer.
Please.
And thank you for your articulated points. But back to the subject matter, I would like to hear from you whether you appreciate at any point that the national budget, which is not only a document of parliament,
it is a public document.
Yes, whether we are about to have another one, whether to you believe maybe, as we are about to get another one, that the current one, in 2 minutes, whether the current one has made any contributory factor to economic growth, the
Doctor,
budget allocation.
Yes, Doctor, thank you. Good enough we have Honorable in the House. Over the years, over the months in this particular previous year, we have seen the government, mainly the Minister of Health, coming in to even ask for supplementary budgets. Why am I using an example of Minister of Health coming in for supplementary budgets? These supplementary budgets even were neither on the national budget planning. The national budget we got in 2021, in the month of late June, July, it allocated money on how the members of parliament and the Minister of Finance saw it fit. But most of the ministries even didn't get use of of that money, because most of the money was gotten by the Minister of Health under the name of fighting COVID-19. That is one. But also we have to recall that through the head of state, there were various directives and calls, requests to citizens and artificial companies, artificial bodies, to come to the aid of the government by donating.
Yeah, they did so.
And they did so.
Yes, please.
So now the issue is, if they did so, you know, however much people are fighting COVID-19, but to me, I see it as a disguise to the development, mainly to the health sector. The donations that were brought to the health sector, as of now, it would have ensured that we have good health facilities within the country. That alone, it would have even helped the parliament not to sign out, not to issue supplementary budgets to the Ministry of Health. If I thought that the COVID donations were used properly, to my understanding, the national budget only and only stops on the document.
Oh, thank you. We shall be coming back to you.
It is never implemented.
We shall be coming back to you to analyze, to see whether it only stops at the document. I'll be interested in searching information faster. You will give us percentages, but we don't make it flat. That the document stops, the national budget stops at the document. We should grant credit where due, because I believe when you are traveling, you know, on this highway of Kampala, this northern bypass, and with that bond loan, but our money, and then you see movement moving faster from here, Kireka, to Entebbe at a faster rate. You should remember that there are some resources which are allocated. So I'll be coming back to you.
Is that express highway?
That's fast express.
How much is the loan?
And two, it is being put out in a luxurious mode.
Thank you.
Uncalled for.
Thank you. Dear viewers, we are welcoming Honorable Dennis Anakalit Amere once again to remind you that he is a member of the Parliamentary Accountability Committee, Honorable, I want to give you this information if you didn't know. I appeared before that committee in 2007 when I was the sub-county chief, and we had become representing the district of Kabare, district government. The issue at hand, there were a number of queries in NAD's program. And NAD's program, of course, dear viewers, as I bring this story, these are some of the programs that are, a number of them including the recent of Emyoga and so forth, Operation Creation, Wealth Creation, which are aiming to improve the lives of the people and henceforth the economic growth. There are many more other initiatives which the government has allocated resources, but the blame of corruption remains on mismanagement of funds and doing fraud work. Please, it's a pleasure to welcome you again. You have a lot to tell us, I believe, and this is an opportunity we've got just to share with the countrymen and women.
Yeah, thank you once again, my brother, Dr. Joseph,
Yes, sir.
and my brother, Derek, the management of Smart TV. I am Oneralit Denis Amere, a member of parliament representing Kitgum municipality in the 11th parliament. I want to begin by saying that corruption is a very bad vice that has rendered Uganda as a country vulnerable. Corruption has raised the level of poverty in this country. Corruption has caused a lot of suffering, toils of suffering in this country. Corruption has basically made very many sectors vulnerable and not operational. When we talk about corruption and misallocation of resources, how it lead to the problem in the economy of the country. Let me begin by saying that in this country, Uganda, it seems like corruption very soon will be legalized because it's everywhere. You go to police who are investigating cases and crimes, they are corrupt. You go to judicial, corruption is there. You come to parliament, corruption is there.
Even parliament.
You go to executives, corruption is from the head to down. Decent men and women, parents, are graduating from good citizens to professional thieves.
That's dangerous.
Corruption has caused a lot of suffering in this country. I want to give you an example how corruption is affecting the growth in this country, how corruption is affecting the economy of Uganda. When you go backward in 2012, the OPM scandal, the $12.7 million that was meant to help raise the standard of the northern people who were suffering for 20 years, 24 years in the war. How that money was embezzled. How that embezzlement led to a lot of death through diseases, death through poverty because there was nothing to eat. You will know the effect of corruption. Now, how was the prosecution done is another question altogether. Come to the Gavi Fund, 2.5. The global fund that was given for vaccination. You remember what happened? How that money was stolen. So if people can go to an extent of stealing money meant for medicine, medicine and vaccination, that really should have helped their own children, then you know there's a big problem in the country. Go to another sectors, like another corruption scandals that made headline. You remember the bribe, international bribe of about $5 million US, 500 million US dollars. Whether it was alleged or it was real, by the international Chinese man, Patrick Ho.
Patrick.
The money that allegedly was given for railway, to buy a railway contract. That was given to Sam Kutesa and the president of this country. They said it is alleged.
True.
Now, when you look at this kind of thing, you will see there is rottenness from the head to down. You will see the level of corruption in this country. That's a big challenge. It's a very big challenge. Corruption in this country is not punishable. It's not being punishable. That is why it is continuously coming up. It is everywhere in all sectors. Because the law is strong enough, but the implementation of the law is weak.
No
Why
way.
is it weak? Why is it weak? Because there's no goodwill in fighting corruption. Because those who are supposed to fight corruption are themselves too corrupt to fight corruption.
Even the IGG office?
The newly appointed IGG, how many cases do you have as of now that she has tried
We'll come
bring
to you,
book?
tell us. We'll come to you, should be able to tell us.
I'm asking you.
Okay,
So
go on.
the corruption cases in this country is not being punished. I believe that is the reason why one would ask, what is the cost of stealing? If I steal 2 billion and I'm arrested for 2 years, and in the prison I turn prison cells into party luncheon, I spend 500 million in prison, then I get out and use my 1.5 billion. Isn't that a fair deal? That is where we have reached. That is where the country has reached. People steal with impunity because they are not being punished correctly. Because the law is not harsh enough. If you go to other countries, go to Denmark, which is one of the lowest, one of the countries with the least number of corrupt people.
Denmark.
Denmark. Go to Singapore, you'll be hanged. Even China, you get problem. Now, in Uganda, it seems there is a mockery of action being taken in corruption, carving down. Look at the 2019 issues of walking anti-corruption walk.
And corruption.
You remember the anti-corruption
And
walk?
they promised by, they promised by 1 minute, they promised by the head of state, the NRM government, over time, is that, and right away as I recall, since the declaration of the 10 points program, is to fight corruption to zero tolerance. And I believe there was an idea that by fighting, 1 minute, by fighting corruption, possible so that there is equal distribution of resources and there is no more safety. But now the NRM government doesn't work alone, it has institutions. And the institution, you have the institution of the parliament. That is part of the government. So through your articulation, in addition to where you are taking us to, I'm not cutting short your discussion. Should we say that all other institutions, including parliament, have not contributed seriously to the fight against corruption? Much as there is also corruption. You stated it
I'm
and I heard
definitely
it.
coming to parliament.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
I want to give you an example, the way I had started on anti-corruption work of 2019.
Yes, sir.
I look at that as a mockery. First of all, the head of executives was the one leading that. Something that would have been done by us. The people who should have been shouting, making noise, that why are you keeping quiet? But he was the one protesting against who? Instead of raining against them, punishing the corrupt, but he was protesting.
For him, it should not
Walking.
work. Should
Against people being appointed by someone.
You get it. You get the problem.
Yes, sir.
So these are clear examples that shows that there is no goodwill in fighting corruption in this country. The day the country will agree to fight corruption, corruption will be fought. Justice John Bosco in 2010, when he was making a ruling against an engineer who was caught in corruption scandals, he said, this court is tired of trying tilapias. yet the crocodiles are swimming.
True.
This court is tired of trying minor thieves,
Minor thieves.
yet the grand thieves are being set free.
The councillors.
The real people who should be really crucified, who should be really arrested on sight, are not being arrested. Are the government officials. Are those people who should actually help in investigating and arresting. They are the one. That is the irony of fighting corruption in this country. When you look at the entire judicial system, let me before talking on that. According to the report of the Anti-Corruption Coalition, that last year 38% of the citizens of this country access public service through bribery. 38% of the population of this country access public service through bribery. Look at that level of corruption. So, unless the president of this country and the top official of this country take action meaningfully to fight corruption, corruption will not let our economy grow. Unless we begin putting the right budget on the right project that can create growth and development in this country will not grow. Misallocation of resources. For example, when you look at defense and security, takes a lot of budget, takes a lot of vote, takes a lot of money. Defense and security. Look at classified budget expenditure.
Classified budget expenditure.
Too much money. This is the amount of money that Parliament give without asking what will it do. They call it classified. A lot of money. And what will that money do? Bribing. You get it? Political opposition to join the ruling government. Bribing you to keep quiet. Doing illicit businesses. And so many things. Of course, others will do the right work. I'm not saying the entire classified budget does not do the right work. I know by law, of course, and by the secrecy, the sovereignty of the country, there are certain things that, of course, need to be classified from being exposed. For example, international dealings, protecting the country against attack, those kind of things. Of course, that is understandable. But when you see a lot of money being taken to classified, and yet there are other sectors that brings a lot of resources in the economy of this country, which are being left vulnerable, like agriculture, underfunded. And yet you see about 60% of the citizens of this country depend on agriculture, but it's underfunded. Look at tourism. Tourism brings a lot of money in this country, but it's underfunded.
It's underfunded.
But when it comes to buying jet fighters, buying guns to fight other people's war, we spend too much. That is what I call misallocation of resources. That will not lead to the growth of the economy of this country.
Do you think, Honorable, we need substantive reforms that may be both engineered in the Parliament and by the people? I'm using the word the people, meaning that there should be a deliberate advocacy also by the citizens to know what they want, because there looks to be a gap between those who are to fight this corruption and those who are interested to see the results.
The citizens surprisingly have little to say where we have reached. They have little to say whether you have something to say. Your words will not be taken seriously. Will not be taken seriously. Whether the corrupt official is arrested, the order from above will release that person. One of the funny thing that Uganda will remember is the privatization policy that took place from the 1990 to 1993 until now. Privatization is taking place. At least the citizens of this country would have where to hide, where to run to, would get computation in terms of commodities in the market, in terms of selling their items, in terms of getting things cheaply done, when the government parastatals are kept for the citizens of this country. So when parastatal government assets were privatized, so many things, you can name them. UCB, Uganda Commercial Bank, this one here of Jam Towers, they went. Dairy Corporation, they went. The hotels, many of them went. Coffee, Agoa, many things were privatized.
Yes.
These are things that would help this country at least to recaptivate their hope, get them back on road, to believe that indeed, even if there are challenges, there is where to begin from. At the moment, it seems like everybody is looking for something to steal. And there is a gang of very few people who has captured, who has made this country captive under their armpits.
Yes, Honorable.
When you look at the, let me just conclude little here. Do your simple research on the properties in Kampala. All these properties in Kampala you are seeing is being owned by less than 10% of
these malls,
people in Kampala.
Shopping malls and good buildings.
And they decide what to do with it, how much amount of money they can give for rent, whether you're suffering or not is not upon them. People who own these arcades, there are very few percentage, 5 or 10% of the people.
By those who own are declared as owners.
And they have ring-fenced themselves.
Yes.
It is a small group of people that has created a clan. Themselves, they have made a clan of corrupt official, a clan of corruption official that coordinates very fast. And they protect each other very well. So when you look at corruption line and misallocation of resources as factor that can really
affect
economic growth,
yes, sir.
it is absolutely, we have a lot of facts to present on board. Above all, this country needs a paradigm shift.
Thank you so much. We want to appreciate the submission given to us, and especially to the viewers, by Honorable Onekalit Dennis Amel. And we realize that a lot is needed to be done, but in the next last round, we will be looking at, and I've been interested also, you have your assignment, sir, because members are interested to get facts. Since the days of when we had so I will not take far. We had Faith Monda, right? We also had, of course, followed by who? We have now Honorable Betty Kamya. I would be interested to have a balance from you, specifically, Mr. Derek, to know whether totally nothing has been done. Because I'm worried as your host, whether you are telling me that completely nothing has been done in regard to those who are supposed to help us come out from this saga of corruption. And number two, Honorable, you are part of a powerful institution, that's Parliament, and specifically the park. We will be interested to know how you found things, and whether maybe you have taken a step to execute as a committee your mandate. I didn't finish the story, we'll continue the second session. When we appeared, by that time, the one who was the chairperson of the park, Parliament Accountability Committee, was Honorable Nandar. And looked to be tough. By that time, it was the first time to meet him. And when you could not be having the accountability, you could instruct the police immediately put inside. I don't know whether those stories are still there, but it looked to be, this time, punitive measures to deal with the corrupt. And so, with that, I want us to allow, kindly, we go for a short break. We resume from that, but that will be a serious point of discussion in a matter of seeing how we can curb corruption and increase on our economic growth. Thank you so much.
Smart 24, driving business.